Ethan Cross walked through the crowded docking station of Zephora's main spaceport, his mind lost somewhere between calculations and distant thoughts of home. Earth seemed so far away now, a tiny blue dot barely remembered as he moved among beings of countless shapes and colors. He had always loved space, the endless possibility, the silence between stars. But today he felt a weariness that even the hum of the interstellar trade hub could not shake. He did not notice the shimmer of light near the entrance of the central hall, the way the ambient glow of Xiphorian biolights reflected off the sleek, metallic walkways. He didn't notice the faint hum of alien music carried on the wind of circulating air currents. He was only aware of the numbers in his head, the calculations for the next supply shipment, the estimates for survival in the increasingly volatile trade routes, and a persistent worry about whether humans were truly as important as they believed themselves to be in this vast galaxy. Then he collided with her. The impact was not harsh, but it startled him enough to make him stumble backward. He looked up, expecting perhaps a merchant or another traveler, and froze. She was, unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin glimmered faintly, as if light itself ran through it like living veins. Her eyes were large and golden, reflecting the bustling station around them with a liquid depth that seemed impossible. Even her movements had a fluid grace, a sway that seemed to echo music he could not hear. "Do you like my body, human?" she whispered. The words were soft, carried on a voice that sounded like a mixture of wind through leaves and a chime. Ethan's brain faltered. He could not immediately respond. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The station around them continued its noise and chaos, yet at that moment, it seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of quiet, punctuated by the echo of her words.
Then he noticed the small gesture of her hand, pointing to her own form.
He realized, belatedly, that this was not a question meant to embarrass him. Something about her posture, the tilt of her head, the subtle way her eyes held his, suggested a test. He didn't know what kind, but it was clear that misstep could carry consequences far beyond an awkward social moment. I mean, Ethan began, voice unsteady. He coughed lightly, trying to gather himself. You're Zephorian, right? I didn't mean to bump into you. She laughed then, a sound like silver bells ringing in wind, and it broke the tension. Yes, she said, eyes flicking with amusement.
I am Leara, heir of the Zephorian Empire, and you, human, are...
Very distracted. I can see it in the way you walked into me. Ethan's eyes widened. Hair? You're a princess? His words stumbled over themselves. He had read about Scyphoria, the wealthy, technologically advanced planet, whose citizens could manipulate light and matter with subtle gestures of their hands, but he had never expected to meet royalty, let alone have royalty confront him personally in a crowded docking station. Liara smiled faintly, a curious mix of amusement and something harder to define. Do not be afraid. Your species is fascinating to me. But perhaps you have much to learn about manners and perception. Ethan swallowed hard. He nodded, unsure whether that was the correct gesture of respect. The cultures of Xiforia were famously intricate. Even a slight mistake could be offensive. And he had read enough to know that Zephorians valued intelligence and subtlety above all. His human bluntness might not serve him well here. She tilted her head, studying him, and the effect was almost hypnotic. "Walk with me," she said finally. "You cannot remain lost in thought forever, human. There is much to see, and perhaps much you do not understand." Ethan hesitated for a moment, then nodded. As he followed, he felt a mix of awe and anxiety. The station around them felt different when she moved beside him. Her presence seemed to influence the light itself, softening shadows, drawing attention without her asking for it. Humans were rarely welcomed in such proximity to royalty on Xiphora. This was either a tremendous honor or a calculated test. They moved through the crowd, and Ethan noticed small details he had overlooked before. The alien merchants calling in melodic tones, the unusual hover carts carrying goods of impossible shapes, the faint hum of energy flowing through the walls, powering devices and lights. Zephoria was not just advanced, it was alive, in a way Earth could not yet imagine. The buildings themselves seemed to breathe, shifting slightly as though responding to the movements of those inside. Liara paused before a wide open area where the light from the ceiling refracted like a prism across polished floors. She raised her hand, and a small panel of transparent energy flickered to life in front of her. Symbols danced across the surface, alien and fluid, shifting as if made of liquid light. "You see this?" she asked. "This is but a small part of Zephorian life. We live with energy, with form, with perception."
It is intuitive.
You, human, rely too much on tools, on devices, on brute calculation. That is why you stumbled.
Ethan frowned, trying to keep up.
I rely on what I know, he said carefully, but I am willing to learn. She studied him closely, as if evaluating whether he truly meant those words.
"Good," she said. "Learning is the first step. Curiosity is the second. Courage, that may come later." He felt a thrill of excitement. Despite the unease, he realized that this was an opportunity beyond anything he had imagined. To walk beside an alien princess, to glimpse the heart of a civilization so different from his own, to learn firsthand what it meant to survive and thrive among beings so far advanced. It was exhilarating. They continued through the station, and Liara's entourage began to notice them. Some looked wary, others curious. Humans were rare on Zyphora, and humans with access to royalty, even rarer. Ethan felt the eyes on him, a mixture of suspicion and fascination. He tried to walk with confidence, but his mind kept racing.
What if he offended her? What if he misread her tests?
What if humans were not as capable as Zephorians expected?
"You worry too much, Lara,"
said suddenly, as if reading his thoughts.
It is human to do so, yes. But you must understand.
Perception is everything here. To act without fear, to see beyond the surface. That is strength. He nodded again, though he was not entirely sure he understood. She was unlike any being he had ever met. Beautiful, yes, but intelligent, cunning, and patient in a way that humans seldom were. And in her gaze, there was an intensity that made him feel both insignificant and vital at the same time. As they reached the end of the docking hall, Liara paused and turned to him. "Tomorrow, you will come to the palace," she said. "There, you will see more than the station, more than the market, more than the ships. You will see the heart of Zyphoria itself. And perhaps, human, you will understand what it means to be tested." Ethan's stomach tightened with anticipation. "Tested?" he asked cautiously. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hinted at secrets too deep for casual conversation.
"Yes,
But do not fear. Some tests reveal not your weaknesses, but your potential. Humans are capable of more than they believe. Perhaps you will surprise me." Before he could respond, she stepped away, moving gracefully toward a transport that shimmered and floated above the ground. Ethan watched her go, feeling both a pull of curiosity and a pang of uncertainty. This encounter, brief though it was, had already shifted something inside him. For the first time in many months, he felt truly awake, truly present. The galaxy was no longer just a backdrop of numbers and coordinates. It was alive, unpredictable, and full of possibility. As he watched her disappear, he realized that his collision with Liara was more than an accident. It was the beginning of something that might change not just his life, but the way humans were seen among the stars. And though he did not yet know the nature of the tests to come, He felt a strange certainty that he would face them with everything he had, because for the first time, he was not lost in thought. He was exactly where he was meant to be. The lights of the station dimmed slightly as evening approached Zyphora's twin suns. Ethan turned to leave, his mind buzzing with questions, calculations, and cautious hope. He did not yet know what challenges awaited him in the palace, or what he might learn about Lyra, or even about himself. But he knew one thing. The universe had shifted in a single moment, and there was no turning back. And somewhere, amidst the swirl of alien voices and radiant light, he felt the faint, lingering echo of her whisper, a challenge and a promise. Do you like my body, human? It was an invitation to observe, to learn, to grow, and to prove that humanity was not as fragile as others believed. And Ethan Cross, for all his doubts and fears, was ready to accept it. The next morning, Ethan Cross found himself standing before the grand gates of the Zephyrian Palace, his heart pounding in his chest. The gates were massive, carved from a crystalline metal that shimmered with colors he could not name. Energy pulsed along the edges like living veins, and faint symbols danced across the surface, glowing briefly before vanishing. He had seen impressive structures before, on human colonies and alien stations alike, but nothing compared to this. A guard approached, tall and imposing, with skin that glimmered in the light like polished silver.
"State your purpose," the guard said, voice calm yet commanding. I am Ethan Cross," he said carefully, trying to steady his nerves.
I am here at the invitation of Princess Liara. The guard's eyes flickered briefly with recognition. She is expecting you, he said, stepping aside.
Enter, human, but tread carefully. The palace is a living place.
It sees everything. Ethan swallowed hard and walked through the gates, feeling a slight tug in his chest as if the palace itself were aware of his presence. The floor beneath him seemed almost liquid, adjusting slightly with every step. Light shifted as he moved, forming patterns and shapes that hinted at constellations he had only ever seen from orbit. He realized then that Zyphoria was not just advanced, it was alive in ways humans could barely imagine. Liara met him in the central hall, where the ceiling arched far above, curving like the dome of a cathedral made of light. She stood atop a platform of transparent material that seemed to float above the ground, her golden eyes fixed on him. Her smile was welcoming, but unreadable.
"Welcome, human,"
she said.
"You arrived on time."
Punctuality is rare among your species. Ethan bowed slightly, uncertain of how deep the gesture should be.
Thank you, Princess. I'm
honored to be here. She gestured for him to follow, and he did, keeping his eyes wide, taking in the details of the palace.
Walls shifted subtly, like slow-moving waves. Doorways appeared where there were none before, and corridors extended and retracted, as if the building itself were breathing. Small devices hovered silently, scanning and monitoring, their purpose unclear. Ethan realized that every corner of the palace was alive with energy, a harmony of technology and organic intelligence. You must understand, human, Liara said as they walked. Zyphoria is not a place for the careless or the thoughtless. Every action, every word carries meaning. You will be observed today, and perhaps tested.
Do not fear mistakes. Fear only the failure to learn from them. Ethan nodded. I understand.
She smiled faintly.
Good. Curiosity and humility are rare strengths.
Let us begin.
They entered a chamber where light seemed to twist and form three-dimensional patterns in the air. Floating panels displayed data, maps, and holographic figures of planets, stars, and ships. Ethan recognized some of the constellations. Others were entirely alien, pulsating with energy in ways that suggested motion and life beyond simple physics. Liara raised her hand, and a figure appeared in the center of the room, a simulation of a complex problem. Energy pulsed through the figure, shaping itself into obstacles, patterns, and challenges. This is the first test, she said. You will navigate it using only your mind and intuition. Tools are allowed, but remember, perception is more important than speed.
Ethan hesitated.
Humans were known for their problem-solving skills, but Xiphorian tests were designed to challenge even the most advanced minds. He focused, breathing deeply, and began to study the patterns. Unlike humans, who often solved problems linearly, the figure demanded lateral thinking, a blending of observation, creativity, and improvisation. Hours passed, though the palace's shifting light made it hard to tell. Ethan made mistakes, small miscalculations, misjudgments of space and timing, but each time he adjusted, learning from the feedback of the simulation. Liara observed silently, her eyes never leaving him, her expression calm yet sharp. Finally, Ethan solved the simulation, not by brute force, but by recognizing subtle patterns, predicting movements before they happened, and trusting his instincts. The figure dissolved in a swirl of light, leaving the room glowing softly.
You surprise me, human, Liara said, her tone a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Your species underestimates itself.
You do not see your own adaptability, your ingenuity, your intuition. You are clever in ways we expected you to be primitive. Ethan felt a swell of pride, but he also realized that this was only the beginning. Thank you, he said humbly. I want to understand more. Lyra nodded and led him deeper into the palace. They walked through corridors that seemed endless, the walls occasionally shifting to reveal new chambers filled with strange artifacts, glowing flora, and creatures that defied classification. She paused before a massive window that overlooked the planet below. Xiphoria stretched out in breathtaking beauty, vast oceans that shimmered with bioluminescent currents, forests that glowed softly, and cities that rose like crystalline spires, alive with movement and light. "This is Xiphoria," she said softly, "and it is fragile. There are those who would take it, destroy it, exploit it. You, human, may not understand the full stakes yet, but soon you will." Ethan felt a weight settle on his shoulders. He had known that space was dangerous, that trade routes were risky and politics brutal. But seeing the heart of a civilization, understanding its value and its vulnerabilities, made the stakes real in a way numbers never could.
You will meet the council, Liara continued. They judge not only skill, but character.
They must decide whether humans can be trusted allies. And trust
is not given lightly. The chamber shifted again, and they entered a room where a council waited. Tall, elegant beings whose eyes shone like polished gems.
They regarded Ethan with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. He bowed, uncertain of the protocol, but remembering Liara's advice, he kept his posture calm and open, letting his humanity show, nervous, thoughtful, respectful. One of the council members, a tall figure with crystalline wings, spoke. "Human, you are here at the invitation of our princess. Tell us, why should Xiphoria trust you and your kind?" Ethan took a deep breath. He could have spoken of human technology, of resources, or military might. But he chose honesty. Because humans have something different. We may not be as strong, or as fast, or as flawless as others. But we are creative, we adapt, we care, sometimes too much, and we learn from our mistakes, and we are willing to try, even when the odds seem impossible. There was silence for a long moment. Then another council member, with skin that rippled like liquid silver, spoke. "Your answer shows insight. Many humans underestimate themselves. Perhaps you do not understand the value of what you offer. But your honesty, it speaks of courage." Lyra stepped forward. "You see, council," she said, her voice carrying authority. "Humans are capable of more than we give them credit for." This one has already proven resourcefulness in the simulation. He has the potential to be an ally, if we guide him carefully. The council murmured among themselves, and Ethan felt a mixture of relief and tension. He was only beginning to understand Xiphoria, and already he was part of their political and cultural web. It was thrilling, but also terrifying. After the council meeting, Liara led him to a quiet terrace overlooking the palace gardens. Strange plants glowed softly, and small creatures flitted among them, leaving trails of light. "You have done well today, human," she said.
"But tomorrow will be harder. The next phase of your test is not with simulations or council.
"It is with the people, the environment, and with decisions that may carry real consequences."
Ethan looked at her, both awed and apprehensive.
Real consequences? He asked. Yes, she said.
Xiphoria is under threat. There are those who would exploit our planet's energy, our resources, our technology. They are clever, and they are patient. To survive, to protect what is precious. You must prove that humans are not only capable, but worthy. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle on him. This was more than a test of intelligence or perception. It was a test of courage, morality, and the uniquely human ability to act under pressure, guided by intuition and conscience. Liara reached out and touched his arm lightly. "Do not fear failure," she said.
Even if you falter, even if you doubt yourself, you have something we value. That is why you were chosen.
Trust in it. Trust in yourself. Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. The palace, the council, the princess herself, they were not merely observing him. They were preparing him for something far greater than he could yet imagine. As the sun set over Xiphoria, casting long shadows across the glowing gardens, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had entered the palace as a visitor, a curious human in an alien world. He would leave, if he survived the tests, as a symbol of human potential, a representative of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability in a galaxy that often underestimated humanity. And somewhere in the back of his mind, he could still hear her words from the day before. "Do you like my body, human?" It was no longer just a question of appearance or curiosity. It was a reminder, a challenge, and a promise that perception, understanding, and courage were far more powerful than any weapon or technology. Ethan Cross was ready to meet the challenges ahead, to navigate the alien world with respect and ingenuity, and to prove that humans, though flawed, emotional, and unpredictable, had a place among the stars. The next morning, Ethan awoke to a soft golden light streaming through the palace windows. His mind still raced with thoughts of the council, the simulations, and Lyra's words. Today would be different, he sensed. Today, the lessons of perception and skill would be put to a real test. Liara appeared at his door, moving with her usual fluid grace. "We do not have much time," she said. "The rogue faction we discussed, those who seek to seize Xiphoria, are already in motion. They are clever and patient. Today, you will see what it means to act, not just observe." Ethan swallowed hard. I'm ready." Liara led him to a command chamber high in the palace, where the view stretched across the glowing forests and the crystalline spires of the city below. Floating panels displayed maps of ships, troop movements, and energy flows across the planet. The rogue faction was vast, but not yet fully organized. If they acted too quickly, Xiphoria could be protected. If they succeeded, the consequences would be catastrophic.
You will assist in planning a defensive strategy, Liara said.
But this is more than logistics. You must think creatively. You must anticipate actions no one expects, and most importantly, you must trust your instincts as much as your calculations. Ethan nodded, his mind already spinning. Humans were often underestimated because of their lack of raw strength or speed compared to alien species. But what humans excelled at was thinking differently, seeing solutions where others saw none, adapting quickly under pressure. That was the advantage he needed to rely on. He studied the maps, noting patterns of the rogue faction's approach. They were using stealth ships capable of masking their energy signatures, moving like shadows across space. Conventional defenses would not detect them in time. Humans might be slow in physical combat, but they could anticipate, improvise, and manipulate variables in ways Xiphorians might not consider. Ethan pointed to a series of smaller ships hidden near the northern ridge of the planetary orbit.
"If we position defensive drones there combined with diversion signals here," he said, indicating a path that led the rogue ships away from the city, "we could funnel them into a controlled area. They'll think they're evading detection, but we'll know exactly where they are."
Liara watched him carefully, eyes narrowing in thought. "Clever," she said finally. "You see not only what is, but what could be. This is what humans call ingenuity." "I am pleased." The council arrived shortly afterward to observe the planning. Their eyes glimmered with curiosity as they examined Ethan's suggestions. Some council members frowned, skeptical of human strategies, but even they could not deny the logic. The rogue faction would not expect such an unconventional approach. When the attack began, it was faster and more chaotic than Ethan anticipated. Small ships flickered into the skies, cloaked in shadows, approaching the city with silent menace. Sirens echoed through the palace as alarms signaled intrusion. Ethan's pulse quickened. This was no longer a simulation. Lives were at stake. He guided the positioning of defensive drones, issuing rapid commands through the panels. His mind worked faster than any human he had ever been, an instinct honed by years of calculations and problem-solving. The rogue ships moved as expected, drawn into the controlled zone he had devised. But the rogue faction was cleverer than anyone anticipated. One of their larger ships broke formation and headed straight toward the palace. Energy shields flared as Liara manipulated the palace's defenses, but the ship's trajectory would still cause damage if it reached the main tower. Ethan thought quickly. "We need to lure it away from the palace," he said. He scanned the maps for resources, satellites, energy nodes, transport ships, and formed a plan. "If we project decoy signals from the outer orbiting satellites and combine them with a burst of energy from the northern ridge drones, we can trick the ship into chasing a phantom target. It will follow the decoy, leaving the palace safe."
Lyra's eyes widened slightly.
"It is risky," she said. "But it may work. Do it." Ethan initiated the plan, fingers flying across the control panels. Energy pulses flared, decoy projections shimmered, and the rogue ship hesitated, sensing false signals. Then it moved, pursuing the illusion. The palace was safe, and the rest of the rogue faction was caught in the defensive perimeter. As the final ship was neutralized, Ethan exhaled deeply, sweat damp on his brow. He looked at Liara, who was watching him with an expression he could not read. Pride? Approval? Curiosity? Perhaps all three. "You did well, human," she said softly. "Your ingenuity, your courage, your ability to act under pressure, it is exactly what we value. You have proven that humans are more than mere observers in this galaxy. You are contributors, capable of shaping events, of protecting what is precious." Ethan nodded, a mix of relief and pride swelling inside him. He had expected tests of knowledge, perception, and etiquette, but nothing could have prepared him for the real responsibility of defending an alien civilization. Yet somehow his human perspective, flawed and emotional as it was, had succeeded where more rigid logic might have failed. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Ethan and Liara walked among the glowing flora, reflecting on the day's events. Small creatures flitted between the plants, leaving trails of light in the darkness. The city below shimmered with the glow of victory, alive with the energy of survival and hope.
You did not just succeed because of knowledge, Liara said.
You succeeded because of something uniquely human. Your ability to adapt, to trust intuition, to act even in uncertainty. These are strengths we admire but do not always possess. And you exemplify them. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. Humans had often been underestimated, dismissed as fragile or primitive. Yet here in the heart of Xiphoria, his species' strengths had mattered, had been recognized, had changed outcomes. It was a feeling he could not put into words, a mix of pride, purpose, and belonging. He glanced at Liara, who studied him with a faint, almost teasing smile.
"The tests are not over," she said. "There are more lessons ahead, more challenges."
But today you proved yourself, not only to us, but to yourself. Ethan looked at the glowing horizon, thinking of Earth far away, of humanity's place in the galaxy, and of the possibility that humans were capable of far more than they realized. He understood, more than ever, that courage, creativity, and moral strength could be just as powerful as technology or raw power. And as they walked, he realized that his bond with Lyra was no longer just one of student and observer. It was a partnership, a collaboration, a bridge between species built on mutual respect and understanding. Humans might be fragile in some ways, but in others, they were formidable beyond imagination. When they returned to the palace, the council gathered once more. Their expressions were less skeptical now, tinged with admiration. Ethan could sense the shift in perception, the acknowledgement that humans, though young and untested in the galaxy, possess something rare, something worth valuing.
"You have done well, human," Liara said to him again, her voice carrying the weight of authority and sincerity.
But tomorrow, you will face another challenge, one that will test not only your mind and courage, but your ability to lead others. The rogue faction is defeated today, but the galaxy is vast, and threats are many. You must be ready. Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. Each day in Xiphoria was a test, a lesson, and a chance to prove that humans were more than their weaknesses, more than their fears, more than anyone expected. And he would not fail. That night, as he lay in the palace chamber, he reflected on the day. The fear he had felt when the rogue ships appeared, the adrenaline of decision-making, the satisfaction of seeing plans succeed, all of it reminded him of the power of being human. Humans might not have the natural abilities of Xiphorians, nor the advanced technology of other species, but they had something equally vital, the ability to think differently, to act unpredictably, and to rise to challenges that seemed impossible. He drifted to sleep with a sense of purpose he had never known before. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new challenges, and perhaps new dangers. But for the first time, he felt truly confident in his place in the galaxy. Somewhere in the palace, Lyra watched him from a distance, her golden eyes thoughtful. The rogue faction had been thwarted, yes, but she knew this human had potential far beyond what even she had anticipated. There was a spark in him, a combination of courage, curiosity, and adaptability that was rare even among Xiphorians. Perhaps, she mused, humans were not so fragile after all. And as the stars of Xiphoria's twin moons glimmered in the night sky, Ethan Cross dreamed not of home, nor of Earth's familiar blue oceans, but of possibilities, of challenges to face, of civilizations to protect, of the unique strength of being human. Tomorrow he would prove it again. The following morning, Ethan Cross awoke with a sense of purpose heavier than before. The rogue faction's defeat had been a victory, yes, but he knew the galaxy offered no permanent peace. Today he would face the final part of his test, one that would decide not only his future, but the future of humans in Xiphoria.
Lyra met him at the palace's floating garden, her eyes glinting with determination.
Today, she said, you will lead. Not simulations, not observations, but real decisions. You will work with Xiphoria's people, coordinate defenses, and manage resources. It is the ultimate test of judgment, strategy, and character. Ethan's chest tightened. Leadership was something humans often feared, yet it was also something they could do uniquely well. He had trained in command simulations back on Earth, studied human history, and led small teams. But here, with alien allies and the weight of an entire planet, The stakes were unlike anything he had imagined. He followed Liara to the palace's command center, a room alive with shifting holograms, floating maps, and interactive panels. Xiphorian officers awaited his instructions, their expressions polite but curious. They had seen his abilities in the previous test, but leadership was different. Leadership required decisiveness, confidence, and the courage to risk making mistakes. Liara nodded at him. "You have the tools, human. Show us what you are capable of." Ethan took a deep breath and began. His first task was to secure the city against any lingering rogue threats. He studied the map carefully. The rogue faction had dispersed, but small cells remained scattered in nearby orbital zones. They were weak individually, but coordinated attacks could still cause damage. He needed a plan that balanced efficiency, resourcefulness, and minimal risk. "Deploy the northern drones to orbiting stations," he instructed, "and establish scanning patterns that intersect at irregular intervals. Use energy pulses to mask city signals and create false paths. This will confuse and isolate any remaining rogue cells." The Xiphorian officers exchanged glances but followed his orders. They watched in awe as the human mind unfolded a strategy that seemed unconventional but precise. Ethan knew that humans often saw patterns others missed, connections others dismissed.
He trusted his intuition and logic in equal measure.
As the day progressed, Ethan faced unexpected challenges. A small rogue team managed to slip past the defenses, heading toward a residential sector. Panic rippled through the command center. Xiphorians, though calm and logical, had little experience with unpredictable human-style improvisation under pressure. Ethan thought quickly. "We'll use environmental feedback," he said. "Deploy low-energy decoys and manipulate light refraction across the buildings. They will think they are heading into open streets, but we can channel them into containment zones." The plan worked perfectly. The rogue team was neutralized without harm to civilians, and the city remained safe. The Xiphorian officers began to look at him differently, not as a human visitor, but as a capable leader whose perspective added real value. Later, Liara guided him to meet the city's citizens. They were wary at first. Humans were rare on Xiphoria, and they had only seen him in the command room or simulations. But Ethan approached them with humility and honesty, listening carefully to their concerns and addressing their needs. He offered practical solutions for rebuilding energy grids, rerouting transport, and repairing minor structural damages caused by the rogue attacks. His approach was simple but effective. He observed, adapted, and acted with empathy. People began to trust him, seeing not a foreign visitor, but someone genuinely committed to their safety and well-being. By evening, the Palace Council gathered once more. Ethan had spent hours coordinating, solving problems, and demonstrating human ingenuity in real situations. The Council watched in silence as he presented a comprehensive report, explaining not only strategies but reasoning, contingency plans, and ethical considerations. One of the senior council members spoke, her voice calm and resonant. "Human, your actions today prove more than skill. They show judgment, responsibility, and concern for life beyond your own. You have led not by authority alone, but by understanding and insight."
"This is rare in any species." Liara stepped forward.
"You see, Council," she said, her tone carrying warmth and pride, "humans are often underestimated. But this one, Ethan Cross, demonstrates that humanity possesses creativity, courage, and empathy in equal measure.
He has earned our trust, and through him, humans may earn a place among us." Ethan felt a rush of emotion. He had expected tests, simulations, and challenges, but this recognition, this acknowledgement of human potential, felt extraordinary. Humans were fragile in many ways, yet they had strengths others often overlooked: intuition, adaptability, and moral courage. The council members nodded in agreement, their approval unanimous. The verdict was clear. Humans were not only welcome, but valued allies. and Ethan, who had begun his journey as a distracted engineer lost in thought, now stood as a representative of humanity's best qualities. Liara guided him to the palace balcony as the twin moons rose over Zyphoria. The city below glittered with life, safe once more, alive with light and hope. Ethan looked out at the horizon, thinking of Earth, of his people, and of the possibilities that lay ahead. Humans had been underestimated, but here among the stars, they had proven their worth. "You have done more than survive today, human," Lyra said softly, standing beside him. "You have shown us that your species is capable of more than we imagined. Courage, intelligence, empathy, these are qualities we value above power."
"You have them in abundance." Ethan felt a quiet pride.
He realized that humanity's true power did not lie in weapons, speed, or technology alone, but in the ability to think differently, to act with conscience, and to rise to challenges with creativity and courage. He had represented humans not with force but with ingenuity and heart, and that had made all the difference. He turned to Liara. "Thank you," he said. "Not just for your guidance, but for believing humans could matter."
I didn't know we were capable of this until now. Well, exclusively interesting, I say. ID.
You always were. You just had to see it for yourself and show it to others.
From a distracted engineer wandering a docking station, to a participant in alien tests, to a leader defending a civilization, his path had been extraordinary. And in every step, humanity had shown not through brute strength but through mind, heart, and courage. The palace was quiet now, the city below alive with gentle hums of energy and light. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility, but also the exhilaration of accomplishment. Humans, fragile though they might seem in some respects, had proven themselves capable of greatness. And he had been at the center of that proof. Liara joined him one last time on the balcony. "You have passed, human," she said, "not because you followed instructions perfectly, but because you understood what it means to act, to adapt, and to lead. The galaxy will be watching now, and through you, humanity's potential will be known."
Ethan nodded, feeling a warmth he had never known. "I hope we can live up to that," he said.
Lyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "You have already begun. The rest of humanity only needs to follow the example you set today." As the twin moons reflected in the crystalline towers of Zyphoria, Ethan gazed at the stars beyond. Earth seemed distant, but its people, their creativity, resilience, and courage, now felt connected to a galaxy much larger than they had imagined. He realized that humanity's place among the stars was not just about exploration, trade, or survival. It was about contribution, ingenuity, and moral courage. And for the first time in his life, Ethan Cross felt truly certain of the value of being human. He turned to Lyra, ready to embrace the future, and whispered softly, "We are capable, and now I know it." She smiled, her golden eyes reflecting both pride and curiosity. "Yes, human, you are. And together we will see how far this can go." The stars twinkled above, the city below glowed with life, and a new chapter for humanity in Zyphoria began. One built on trust, ingenuity, and the undeniable strength of the human spirit.